Hey everyone, Phi Farley here, February 28th, college basketball best bet coming to you real quick. Hold on tight in 1 second, I'm going to get to it. First, let me say thank you to subscribers. I appreciate it. To those who are new, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, take a second to do so. Get my picks each and every day here on YouTube. You can also check the rest of the plays out over on patreon.com/Phi Farley to get the whole gambit of plays. So, coming off a push last night with UCLA, across the board, it was a push. Ended up 2-2-1 overall. But I will say, bright spot being NBA. It has been since the return of the All-Star break in the NBA. Overall, 13-5. So 72. Just over 72% there in the NBA. That said, they're over on Patreon, and it's only on the top two tiers that you can get all the NBA picks. But feel free to check that out. If you want to get my NBA plays, you can get them for the whole month, and it's like less than $1 a day for the entire month, all the plays, and you can stay tuned. All right, so now let's talk about today. First, I'm going to go to something that's really kind of interesting, a little bit of a fun fact when going through the capping today. So we got Georgia Southern playing Georgia State. There's only a few games to really be interested in. Of course, we had Davidson and Dayton going at it. Davidson making a nice push here down the stretch, and Dayton, meanwhile, just holding on to their undefeated Atlantic 10 record. So we'll see where this one goes. Don't think it'll be a play for me. In fact, I think I'm only going to have the Daily Best Bet Fridays are not my favorite day. Can't stand Ivy League, and so there's not a whole lot I like here. You have Washington State, Washington rematching. Washington State getting the first win now going, but they're laying 9.5. Washington is at home against the Cougars. You also have Texas State going to UT Arlington. I did dig into that one. That may be the one play that I could potentially make outside of the best bet. So now here's my fun fact. Georgia Southern going to Georgia State. If you look at Georgia Southern's record in conference, and you were to just pull open where they're at in the middle of the pack, sitting at 11-7, then right underneath them at Appalachian State, draw a line right there. The schedule above them, every single team, home and road, they've lost to. Then, if you were to go and draw a line, go every team below that, home and road, every single team they've beaten. Talk about like your middle of the road team, which if you were to use that, they should lose tonight at Georgia State. Georgia State should get the win. However, they're laying 5, and so that makes it a little more difficult. That doesn't give me a ton of confidence. I did look in years past. This game, the rivalry in state between Georgia Southern and Georgia State has been owned by Georgia State, and the 5 is coverable. But I'm not as confident here down the stretch to lay those 5. However, I was digging into that one there. Just an interesting thing. You don't often see that every single team above them was a loss, home and road. Every single team away below them was a win, home and road. Anyway, there's your fun fact. Now let's get to the best bet of the day. Okay, Northern Kentucky is hosting Wright State, 4 o'clock tip Pacific time. You got number 1 versus number 2. This is a fantastic matchup, even though the first time they played was not so fantastic. Wright State absolutely mauled Northern Kentucky. Now, both teams have done respectable through the conference. A couple things to note, though, as we get to why the play is going to be made here on the home team. And here's why. One, we look at who Wright State has been vulnerable to the losses they've had. All 3 losses in conference were on the road, and they were to the top-tier opponents in uniform. So they haven't played number 2 Northern Kentucky. That's tonight. Number 3 is Green Bay. They lost at Green Bay 92-89. Next one, UIC, Illinois-Chicago. They lost at Illinois-Chicago 76-72. Next one, Youngstown State. They just played there. They lost at Youngstown State 88-70. So when it comes to the top-tier opponents on the road, Wright State has yet to perform and get the job done to get the W. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing here is that Loudon Love just played his highest minutes of the season in the overtime game against Cleveland State. I say Loudon Love because he's the center, he's their big man, he's their leading scorer, he's the leading rebounder, he's definitely a force. and he will be defended like he wasn't defended in the last game. So he just played 35 minutes on the floor against Cleveland State in overtime. Northern Kentucky, though, was without their big man in the first game they played, Dontez Walton. So Dontez Walton has come back. Since he's come back, they've only dropped one game, and that was to UIC at home, a surprising game. But outside of that, they're 7-1 since Walton has come back. He contributes 16.4 points per game. He's their leading rebounder at 6.9 points per game. Interesting about him, also would be their leading three-point made individual. He is their leading three-point percentage player, and he's dropped 46 threes while only playing 18 games this season. Second would be Tyler Sharp, or first would be Tyler Sharp, 72 threes. He's the only one that has more than him, but Tyler Sharp has played every game this season. So, if you put it in perspective, he would be leading percentage, he would be leading in total, he would be leading points man, leading rebounder, not to mention defending the post down low where Love is going to be playing. So, you have a revenge factor here, huge double-digit loss. You have first place in the conference at stake. You have a team that has struggled against top-tier opponents in Wright State on the road. And you have coming off an overtime game for Wright State, in which Love played 35 minutes. He had to be maxed out in that game. So all things said, this one leans towards Northern Kentucky. I think they get the job done. I'll lay the 3. Best bet of the day, Northern Kentucky. Check out patreon.com/Phi Farley for the rest of the plays. Big NBA slate tonight, so I'm going to focus more over there. And good luck, everyone. We'll see you again soon.